happy people?
Good morning.
Morning. I just started.
You're certainly very cheerful, John.
Yeah, why not? I mean, come on, man. Motor racing this weekend. Bye-bye.
John, I'm going to drive Coda tomorrow. I'm excited.
You are in what?
In a GT4.
Oh yeah, which one? BMW?
No. It's a Porsche GT4.
Oh, Porsche. Okay.
Does Coda know you're going to do that to him yet?
Yeah, I'll smash into the sides, and it's a hard track. It's a really hard track.
It's not that bad. I drove an Audi R8 all day on the track, 3 sessions on the track, lead follow, and that's
Nice.
a 600 horsepower car, all-wheel drive.
Those
Don't
are awesome.
lift in turn 6 like I did. I lifted, got hammering through turn 6, and it drifted out. It went about 20 degrees, tail out at the back. But fortunately, I put the power back down and steered it back through. And the instructor's in front of me watching his rearview mirror. All I heard was, "You lifted, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah."
As long as I don't hurt myself, anyone's vehicle, or anything else, I'm happy.
That is where the bar is, Cody.
Yeah, exactly. Don't crash. That's the entire bar.
Well, if you do, my son took me for a hot lap. So he turns off all the control systems and he drifts the Audi R8 around the track. And then he gets to the carousel and he heads into the carousel, the smoke coming off the tires. And the darn kid changes up halfway through the carousel. It's just madness.
That's wild.
He's a professional driver, so he can do that. Yeah, I'm heading out to La Quinta in December to the BMW Performance Center, 2 days advanced driving, mostly on thermal.
Awesome.
Whose car are you driving?
Mine.
Oh, it's your own.
Mhm.
Oh, no insurance.
Yeah, exactly. It's an older one, but it still gets around.
You got a trainer, a coach, or are you just going yourself, track day?
Oh, it's just like a HPD open sign up and go with an instructor.
Okay. Yeah. I prefer paying the money for the Audi course because it's their car, it's their tires, it's their brakes, it's their engine. You know, you're hammering that thing at 8,000 RPM. And then they have insurance as well. So I prefer that and sticking my own on the track.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm kind of a wuss on tracks, but I enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
Well, on Road America, I hit 150 miles an hour up the main straight and then stand on the brakes at 500 board for turn 1. In thermal, we did 145 miles an hour on the back straight. And that's not very long. So that car's picking up speed like mad.
Hey, Moray. Did you want to go ahead and start on the symposium update while we're since you said Blakely's up to date, right?
Yeah, we can do that. Greg, have you started recording, I guess?
Looks like it's recording.
Okay, so just a quick update on sort of program stuff. Two items: the ATCE networking session, and then the 2026 symposium with IBC in Galveston. So we're going to follow the same format we did at last year's ATCE, where last year we had Subodh Saxena from Neighbors basically gave a stand and deliver. So not a presentation with slides, but basically talked and spoke on his thoughts of what the current state was for drilling systems automation. This year, we've asked Jeff Walker from BP to come in, and he's given us a topic that he would stand and deliver on again, which will be around the role of the digital professional within automation. He's going to talk about the sort of forward looking and explore the needs of the human in the loop with automation, and where machines, models, and humans sort of interact and work together. So I think it'd be a really good session. Specifically, John and I thought it ties well to sort of the recalibration of DSATS and some of the functions there. and we'll work to it. But we'll do the same format. So he'll give a stand and deliver. We'll have a moderated Q&A, and then it'll be just the open networking session with drinks and whatnot. So we're just about at the point where we're finalising that with Jeff and confirmed. Then we'll start the marketing and the sponsor. We'll need sponsors. So if anybody on here wants to sponsor that session, reach out to me. But we'll be providing the sponsor packs to your room as well, so we can take them in online. Any questions on the ATCE symposium? ATCE networking event?
No, but just a side note, Jeff Walker is one of the people who applied to be the YP liaison.
Yes, we know. So, which is why it's a good. It lines up well, right? I know there's.
Yeah, I think the flag probably is that this is on the Monday evening, right, Maury, of ATCE?
That's right. That's right. On the where is it? 16th, I think. That's right.
Yeah, can't remember.
No, that's the symposium. Sorry, I can't remember the date. But yes, it's the first day. We actually have a committee meeting at 4 o'clock prior to that with the board and officers, and then we've got about half an hour at the end of that before we go to the networking event.
Is there an invitation for those meetings already out, Maury? I don't remember.
No, not yet.
Okay.
So we have the room. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong. We have the room booked. Is what we have so far with or we have the room scheduled with ATC so they can book it. Not sure which. But that's all covered. And then we'll have a different session for the actual event. So we've still got a few things to cross and dot before we start advertising it, but we're very close is the point. And, have our content. So yeah, you'll see an invite if you choose, I guess is your question. Specifically for the board and officers meeting, that will be sent out. I'm guessing we'll have Blakely send that or out to everyone. On the symposium, yep, sorry, go on.
Well, this is Greg. So for the reception, I'm also working on the announcements. I have a general announcement for announcing all of the technical section receptions that will go out to all technical section members across the board. And then I have individual reception announcements that will go out to each of the technical sections that's more directed towards those technical section members. So those will be going out soon as well.
So we have an initial sort of outline of what Jeff would talk about for that announcement, Greg, but we just need him to he has to still get formal approval from BP.
Okay. And in the chat, I put the link to the sponsorship portal. So it's never too early to start getting sponsors to go there and sponsor for the reception.
So quick question, good question on that one. We want them to use the SPE sponsor portal and not the DSATS one, right?
Yeah, for ATC you have to. Everything has to go through that portal, and it makes it easy because you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is get people to go there, and then after it's all said and done, if you have money left over, that just goes back to the section.
All right. So there'll be no action there in sponsor for the ATC. It'll be just the symposium in 26 that we'll do sponsorships on.
No, so no action from us. It all goes through SPE. Is
Yes.
that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to do is get them to go to the sponsorship portal page on the atce.org website, and they take it. The sponsors apply through there.
We'll start harvesting up. We've sent a couple of notes and mentioned the sponsorship opportunities, but we'll start actively driving that now that we actually have content to talk about.
And I put that link in the chat in case you want to share it with whoever.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, on the symposium for 26, so that obviously there's the administrative slides up front. DSATS business has to be taken care of, that we'll do. But then what we're planning to do is have a working session to define the critical path for a comprehensive and impactful drilling system and how DSATS can help with that. We're working to line up a guest speaker at the front of that. Who, John, can we say who we're looking at the moment, or do we want to hold off on that till we get some feedback
I think
from them?
you can tell them it's not a done deal, right? We may get a no.
Right. So we're trying to get Scott Tinker, who I think is going to be at the event anyway, as I believe. But anybody that doesn't know Scott Tinker, you can look him up online. He's rather famous.
Has he replied, Maureen?
Sorry?
Has he engaged? Is he replying?
No, I just said.
Yeah,
we're still working to talk to him.
So you haven't talked to him yet?
No, Paul is going to talk to him. It's our proposal at the moment, and we would ask him to talk about reframing.
We had tried in the past. We had reached out to him in the past, and he never bothered to reply.
And that's why we're using Paul, who knows him.
Yeah, Paul's going to talk to him. He's making a phone call. We've been making a plan as to how to position it. Paul knows the guy.
Okay, very good.
So we're going to ask him to talk about reframing the question of energy and why we should invest in drilling systems for the future. And then once he's kind of done that framing, then what we're looking to do is build out on a series of use cases or questions rather than use cases, isn't it, John? What it is that DSATS should be doing to advance or assist in those various areas. So right now on the committee, we've kind of outlined those with the initial committee, which is John, Blakely, Tatiana, Paul, and myself, and we're now, and Matt as well. Sorry, yes, and we're now at the point where we're expanding the committee. So we've sent invites to Rim, Cody, who's on the call, and also Jeff Walker. Whether he comes on board for ATC or not, he would be good for those sessions. I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of the outline of what we're proposing. At this point, we're sort of moving to the tactical stage of how we'll manage the session, how we'll put the budget together, how we'll advertise it, and then obviously we need sponsors. So it's in pretty good shape. The thing with Scott is that that's our very next step. So in the next 2 weeks, the task is with Paul to get with Scott and discuss it, and for us to write a formal invitation to Scott to come and present.
Are you planning to pay a fee, Maureen?
No.
Okay.
So
he's speaking at the IADC annual meeting this year, so they've brought him in as a speaker. So well, we think we can get him, but we'll see.
We're wanting to leverage Paul's relationship with him.
Yeah.
Bring him in. I think he would be a terrific speaker for our session and draw in a lot of people.
Yeah, Maury, maybe a thing to say is that we basically generated a number of themes which are important to DSATS becoming drilling systems technical section. And then we've adopted the spin process to address each one. And this is
I was gonna cover that in the next call. Once we kind of get everyone together and we can put a short outline and maybe a slide together that we can show that kind of details it all.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like if we start listing it now, then we'll get into the weeds of something that we haven't fully defined yet. So yeah, it's a bit early. Let the committee do its job first. Yeah. But yeah, as John says, we have all that outlined, which is why we're saying that we're at the tactical pivot point now of how are we going to run it, exactly nail down the content, and let it get the sponsors, the advertising, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I think one other point maybe, Maury, to share is that we're looking at the standard timing of 1 to 5, but with the important keynote speaker, if we get him, we're thinking of an hour for him, half an hour for the technical DSAT stuff. We may consider starting it at noon instead to give more time to the work groups to produce output that DSATS can use on its way forward.
And there's precedent because we've done that before in other sessions. So that's not something that would be unusual. We have done that previously.
I must say it's looking good. It looks like a great.
Where we wanted to be time-wise in terms of schedule, we're probably about a couple of months ahead of where we were thinking we needed to be at this stage. So we just need to keep pressing ahead. I think we've got a good team, and we've come up with a good topic. I think it aligns to where DSATS is currently heading or maybe headed. So I think it all comes together quite nicely.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, everybody. Sorry I was late to school or
Hey, Blakely.
camp drop off this morning. Just took an exceptional amount of time today. So thank you
No
for
worries.
bearing with me.
We
And
just
thank-
gave them a quick update on the networking event for ATC, and then obviously we back-ended in Symposium, which I know you're
Perfect.
involved in, so you know.
Yes. No, thank you for giving that update. I'm glad you were able to talk with it through the team. It's, I think, going to be really exciting. And most of us were at the that forum last year, and I know we all, like, the consensus was that was a really great kind of structure, and we all got a lot out of it. So I think it's kind of like a perfect kind of model of sorts to replicate, just so that we can make sure that we're all headed in the right direction, and we get good feedback too from kind of like the larger community too. It'll be a good, meaningful way. But I will go ahead and run through kind of the section update slides, and then we can move into subcommittee updates for DWIS and OSDC. So we'll start with some of the section updates. I don't see, oh, Sam's on the call. Do you want to go through the financials, Sam?
Sure thing. Not a lot happened actually from June 10th to July 8th. Only one transaction was the website fees for DWIS. I think there was another website fees that happened, but it was after July 8th. One question that I think came up, and Blakely brought this up, was how are we handling the expenses for different accounts? Right now, there's only one debit card. And of course, if it has to be a wire transfer or like account transfers, I can do it from each account individually. But if we are using debit cards, it is tied to the main account, and it goes from that account. So all this website fees and any other fees goes from that account. And internally, Robert used to do this, and I'm doing the same thing, that we used to transfer money around to make it look like it went from that particular account. But I was on phone with Wells Fargo this morning, and I did request them debit cards for each individual account. It's a pain to have like 4 different debit cards, but I think right now that's the only way I can see how we can deal with it. So if anybody needs, like, for example, drill bodies, they have an expense and they need to use a debit card, let me know. I can give you the drill body specific debit card number details. That way it's directly hitting that account, and we don't have
That
to
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Satya, and it really does. I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think, like, it was clear from our last couple of meetings that was just, we were all a little bit confused, and it's
Yeah.
like, were the funds
Yeah.
transferred? What, it just kind of was a constant something.
It's
that
it's
came up.
always
Easier.
been like, it's not new. It's been like that for a while with, you know, what monies belong to which group, and we haven't transferred those, or So
then I
that's
think,
a good move.
am I correct in assuming then the only, like, the only thing that will still come through the main only is like event tickets, because that goes through Wix, and Wix is tied to main.
And website charges. So
Okay.
The main
the
DSATS
actual
website.
costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will hit it. Yeah, drill bodies expense can be separate. DWIS website now, those expenses can be separated now.
And if I do a terrible job of running the symposiums in ATCE, then any costs that we incur from
No.
XP, I will promise not to let that happen.
No, it's gonna go great.
Got it, that's it.
But I guess like an example is like the DWIS event in Stavanger, right? All of the event tickets were still collected through Wix, right? So that still would have been an account
Yes.
transfer. But I think that
Which
should be
goes
like
to
the only
which goes to
exception.
the main account. That's right.
Right. But that'll be
Yeah.
the only exception, basically.
But if
Yeah.
I'm right, that's maybe something we can actually look at with Room and how we manage that. We may just need to add a second source, bank source, in order to credit to the right account if it's DBAS. But yeah. But didn't we only do that because it was tied to a DSATS event in some fashion? Wasn't that the reason we did that? I thought it was something to do with that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think. I mean, Matt, the consortium was what was it? It was the day after the conference, right? And it was DWIS specific, if I'm remembering.
I just
correctly.
wondered why we didn't just have them buy the tickets through the DWIS website. Well, I guess maybe they don't have that capability on there to tie to the account. Maybe that was the reason.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I remember following your advice. So if you don't remember,
yeah,
Then we're all out of luck.
I probably just made it up at the time. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay.
So the other question which I needed answer from Wells Fargo, I didn't get it today, is changing business names, how that's going to affect the business accounts. So what's the process and all that? I'm yet to find more information on it. Once I find it, I'll come and debrief the rest of the group. That's pretty much all I have.
Changing the name has legal implications. We're a DBA at the moment, so you'd have to redo the DBA, which would be probably easy, but it would need some legwork.
Yep. Probably like with the Secretary of State and all that. Yeah. But,
where did we end up on all of that anyway? I know there were
maybe there is no change, because I mean the accounts are really in the name of SPE, and we are kind of using that 501c3 and their EIN to open the accounts, and we are yes, we're doing the DBA as Drilling Systems Automation, and now it may be slightly different, but I hope, let me say I hope, I cannot say for sure, but it may be not changed at all, because at the end, SPE is the owner of the account,
Yeah, but you'd still need to at least kill one on the DBA, kill one and start up another one, which I don't think is a big deal. You can just do it down in the local office there. But
yeah, I hope so.
But the accounts, then that then goes through all the bank accounts, right? Because they're all in DSATS.
Is it reasonable to check with the SPE lawyers as to what's the best approach?
I think you're wasting your time. This is Robert Wiley here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just renewed the DBA for the wellbore positioning technical section. I did it on the website of the Texas State, the Secretary of State. So I had to create an account to do that. And it was fairly straightforward. It is as part of the SPE. So it appears on the SPE listing with the Secretary of State. I think the one thing you would want to do, though, is check with your bank in terms of any implications for the bank account check, name, that kind of stuff. But if you have to change the DBA, I think either be in touch with me or Greg. One of us can help you if you can't see it yourself, which is fairly straightforward.
Okay. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. But that's it for me. Any questions?
No.
Thanks, Blakely.
Problem. Thank you. All right. Cody, if you want to take it over to talk about membership.
Yeah, so kind of consistent with what we've been seeing the last couple of months. Small but consistent growth rates. I'd say a little bit more in June than May. We're a little flat between April and May, but overall, the professional growth is outpacing student slightly, but there's a lot more professional members. So 39 new professional, 37 new student members. It puts us at 2,096 for June for professional, 523 for student. But I guess the important thing here is that, if you look at the student membership versus 2024, the green versus the blues in the middle there, we're outpacing 2024 numbers, and that's where we're seeing a lot of growth. Those are just numbers that we've said this a few times. That represents, a SPE membership renew. But what we're really interested in, what I've spent quite a bit of time talking to Riam, Blakely, and Sam about is the engagement aspect. The quality of the member engagement, how we get people excited about it, what we give to them as a organization, and why people would be interested in joining events with what we do. So that's a big piece on what we're going to be focusing on is essentially the quality and the engagement of the members versus purely a growth play with numbers. They're two very different pieces. So the rough plan that we talked about here is kind of the reset, thinking about goals for the groups, the committees and subcommittees in general, having a very clear plan, very clear statement on what we're going to do, then have the tangible pieces on, whether it's the webinars, it's the, sorry, I just saw Maurice. No, it's the webinars, it's the workshops, it's the outputs from what we do. So overall, same message as last time, that the real focus is on the engagement over the growth and the quality of the members, but we are seeing consistent growth. And then I just added this one in here this time. We've talked about this a few times, but we've got the Gulf of America as the primary focus of a lot of what we talk about here. But if you look at the pie chart, the Middle East and North Africa is actually the largest section. And we've talked about this a few times, and we've kind of emphasized this, but it's just really interesting to see the pie chart breakdown here. And that's the light green on the right side, showing the Middle East and North Africa versus, the rest of them, I guess, North America's. If you'd add South America, then, you add the Latin Americas, that's put in here, and the Caribbean, it's actually larger. But, I think we've made this point a few times. We don't want to assume that Gulf, North America is the largest group, right? So I thought this is pretty interesting, and then the breakdown by countries. One thing I want to do, and we've started to talk about a little bit, is figure out a way to get a little bit more flexibility with these dashboards. I don't have any way to manipulate them. They're set in place, and it's essentially screenshots, and then I do a little bit of math and add PowerPoint numbers on top. So that's one ask I have. And Greg, is Greg on the call still? I don't know.
Yes, I'm still here.
Greg, do you know who sets up these dashboards? Is this like a BI plugin?
I'm not sure. I know our IT staff, they manage what goes on these, in that membership builder, dashboard. I can request things if they can do it. Usually they're pretty good about adding things. So if you have something you'd like to see that's not there, let me know, and I can at least put in a request.
Okay. I guess the first thing I would want to know is just how they're created. If it's like a Plotly, and they're using Python with Plotly, or if it's like a Power BI plugin.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could find it out.
If it's Power BI, then what I would ask is if I could get permission to be able to actually manipulate the dashboards and what we're showing. So I'll take that offline with you and send you a note.
Yeah, shoot me an email with the details, and I can forward that along.
Okay, awesome, thank you. That's all I had, Blakely.
Hey, Cody, one comment on the rising numbers during the year. It's the weirdest thing. I think from discussions in the past, yeah, that one, the rising numbers during the year is just members being late to re-up their membership fee. So
Yeah.
it's not us causing them to sign up or anything like that. It's just an SPE trend. Probably we're better to look at members per year at the end of the year as the more longer term influence of what we're doing.
Yep.
Your next
and engagement too.
Yeah, I totally agree with your engagement thing. Absolutely. Very good way to go. And the next one with the pie chart, I think it's interesting that, yeah, the Gulf Coast has a large number, but the United States in the columns is 657 against these other countries. So there's a significant presence from the US, which I think we probably understand. But then when you start to look at the 428 Middle East and North Africa, and then Europe, are we getting the right representation into the leadership of DSATS if these regions are got a lot of members in DSATS? Because are we connecting with them? Now, the downside is, and I hope Greg turns the recording off, but the downside is some of those regions, the people are less active to get involved, should we put it that way? So, you know, they're a bit more followers than stepping into leadership volunteer roles. But it might be something at the next cycle of membership of the board and officers to see if we can dig a little bit into representation from those areas of people who will be active. There are definitely some out there, but yeah. Enough said.
Agreed. I think it's worth, I haven't had a chance to reach out because we have program chairs in multiple geo markets, but I'm not sure what level of kind of involvement or anything they're doing, right? So I think it's worth evaluating, like, who's in that role, what type of events are they trying to plan or do that are region specific, because that'll help kind of grow the reach and the content specific to those areas as well.
Yeah,
It'll
so
be tough,
the intention we made with a shift from a single program chair to multiple ones is that one of the regional program chairs takes the lead of those program chairs. And at the moment it's Maury, because he's in the US, he has the biggest experience of all those program chairs. So he has two hats kind of thing. One is North America and the other is the lead program chair over all of them.
Okay.
Although to be fair, I've been totally focused on the symposium and networking event so far.
Yeah,
You know,
rightfully so.
I probably need to take a step back and think about it more sort of holistically. I haven't done that yet.
You know that there's SPE regional directors and then the local chapter presidents that might be interesting to try to find some people that could be more active. They could help.
Yeah. Yeah, Robin actually, when we started the search for the YP liaison, had given me the contact information for the North Africa chair. So I think we definitely have, plenty of network to reach out to find the right people to get involved. So maybe, Maury, that's something you and I can catch up on.
Yep.
Okay, so speaking of YP liaison search, the search continues. We're still accepting nominations. I think we have 5 people that have come forward and, given us some information. Not all of us have given us kind of the full list of details we had requested, but I think 2 or 3 have. I know we were going to post again on LinkedIn just to, put another social media blast out there and see if there's any more kind of reach or interest. But I think doing a candidate review next meeting is probably the right way to go, just so that we can, as a team, come forward, make a decision. For my knowledge, I don't know 100% what the right process here is, since we're kind of like off cycle. I know last call we talked about essentially we'll review the nominations together and essentially with board and officer approval, that would be sufficient until March. Is that correct in my understanding?
Yeah, the best thing is to just jump to the constitution, it's written in there, you can appoint a vacant position with, and I think it's only board approval, not officers, but I'm not sure. It is written in there. So there is a method in the constitution that enables you to do that. And just check with that first and you'll be good to go.
Okay.
Hey, Blakely, sorry if you and I misaligned on this. The deadline that I put for applicants was August 30th.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay,
So then I guess September.
because then we were like, we'll make the decision in September. And again, as applicants are coming in, we can, if we want to do like interview and stuff like that, even before we get everything, we totally can. Because I thought that I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I thought that's what we were doing.
That's
okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think
Is
the
that,
intention was to make sure it was like before SPE
Right.
or before ATC, excuse me.
Is that a timeline communicated, when we solicit nominations? Because what I'm afraid is that people come forward and then for a month or two, they don't hear anything back. And then they get turned off, if they know that they're not going to hear anything by August 30, it's a different story,
Yeah, that's on the post.
Okay,
The only thing I've communicated on this is via the LinkedIn post, and that's on there. Deadline for applicants is August 30th.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I respond to them, I ask them for follow-up information. And then I tell them, the committee is going to review applicants in September, but you may hear from us before then. Whether it's an interview or what have you, but like you may hear from us before then, but we're discussing in September.
That's fine. That's good. Thank you.
Yep.
Good deal. And then I think we can also send it out via Informs too, like that same type of post.
Yeah, and I know you've said that to me multiple times, and I'm like, what is she talking about? What's
Yes.
Informs?
Well, I think we can just send it to Greg. I know he said that we can learn how to use the system, but I think it's just as easy to send him like the template and he can send it out to the mailing list.
Okay, so is Informs just like an email blast?
Yes. To all members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal. Okay, so does anyone have anything else they want to talk about from like a section update or high level perspective on YP membership finances? So I guess now I'll invite Roman to go over the OSDC update, and I know Paul's on as well, so if he wants to chime in, you guys have got it. But similar to what we had done last meeting, wanted to give Roman and Matt the opportunity to give their updates as well, since we ran out of time last time. Sorry. There we go.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Audio good?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so just a quick update on OSDC, so the open source community. So as a reminder, overall, the idea started back in 2018 when Paul gave a challenge at the Julian Colloquium that was held in Stavanger about why aren't we open sourcing more models? So I think the quote at that point was, I never want to see another mass spring damper model of a drill string ever again, unless the situation calls for it. But again, we're sick of seeing students do this. So in 2019, we followed up with a paper looking at creating these. COVID got in the way, and then in 2021, we had a soft launch of the overall community, follow-on paper in 2022. And then last year, a lot of the stewardship of it passed to a new Wells for the Future consortium, which I am running at Texas A&M University. So that's all now running full steam ahead with several students working on projects that will be contributed to OSDC. We are still sorting through the best way to curate the models and how to accept external models. So next slide. So for OSDC, the opensoursdrilling.org, the website is up and running. It needs a slight update, so that's on my to-do list for the summer. Next slide. On the GitHub, there's a fairly active group of projects that are now posted online with a lot of nice contributions from Norse. So thank you to everybody over there for doing that, along with a couple other models. There are a couple private models right now in the repository that we are currently cleaning up that will be posted soon. So I think next slide. There has been a technical seminar series that has been run off and on as part of OSDC. I would like to restart this in the fall. Once that is being done and those are scheduled, I will communicate with you so you can advertise them. The recordings of the previous ones are all available on both the OSDC website and on that YouTube channel. Next slide. So just a quick note on different types of open source licenses. So the big ones that are used out there are the MIT license, which is a very simple and permissive license. And it allows for wide reuse of code. The GPL license, the GNU General Public License, that one has a very strong copyleft. It's a requirement within it, which means that if you use and extend a GPL licensed open source library, you must contribute your changes back, and any software that uses it must be open sourced as well. For business, obviously, that's a bit of a challenge. For academia, I would love to have this type of a license, but again, you can't really make profit off of it because you contribute your source code back. The Apache license is also a very nice one, but the problem with this is you have contributor agreements that you have to work on. And finally, for data and other information, there's a Creative Commons license, which is what Wikipedia uses. So data can easily be shared this way. So on the next slide, what we're using is all the models, along with the visualization and toolkits that we're developing, will all be released under MIT, and then the data sets that will be released as those come out will be released under Creative Commons 0. So again, that Wikipedia style license. Next slide. So one that is coming up shortly, if you would like to have early access to it, just reach out to me, is PyDrill, which is currently released as DrillPys. I'm swapping those names around for once it comes out, but it's going to be a coupled axial torsional model. The torsional version is already fully out there in the alpha version, so if you want access to that, you can play with it. A bitrock interaction library one of my students wrote and presented in Stavanger will be included as part of this. It will be steady-state hydraulics, and there will also be basic surface control included as part of this. Because again, SoftWork and ZTorque, idealized versions of all of these are published and available, so those will be implemented. Real ZTorque will not. And then finally, for tools, there'll be some basic visualization and some basic parameter estimation as part of this. So a lot of these are already available. If you want access to this, reach out to me. Otherwise, toward the end of the summer, the public version will be pushed to OSDC. And I think, Demetrius, I saw a hand up from you.
Yeah, I was just curious, Roman. I know that the guys in Rapid, the UT, they have a model like this, for trickstring dynamics. I was wondering if that's something that they might make available here for review, for evaluation.
Eric is very much against open source. He's told me this multiple times. However, the evaluation and comparison, Demetrius, I think is a great idea. I am going to try and reach out to him and see, can we compare these two models and get a paper out just comparing them? He can keep his closed source, because I know he has a beautiful model that he just finished up. And then this will be the open source version.
Okay.
But no, that's a very good point. I'll give Eric a ping on that.
Yeah.
All right, then next slide. So the vision for all of this is we would like to have a system where different models will have the same general interoperability between them, where you can have, let's say, a drill string model attached to some form of, let's say, a rig system model attached to maybe a downhole tool model with a drill bit model attached to the end of it. This is my long-term vision with this, is where it's now a nice multi-component library where you can just pick, I want bit model 3 or the so-and-so model attached to the drill string model from so-and-so. The challenge with this, though, is getting the time stepping to match between them. So this is going to be an ongoing research project with students going forward. So this is where we're going. We are starting to finalize the overall general contribution framework on how to verify external models that are contributed. We're having a couple of meetings over the course of this summer to work through this. So then probably in September, I'll be able to present on that final process with a couple of models that are contributed. So I think this is my last slide.
So Roman, that sorry, that BitRock interaction, that's the model that you presented in Stavanger, or that's
Yes.
something else? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So those are the models that Elias presented in Stavanger. Those are going to be included as part of PyDrill once that gets released.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I think we'll be adding a few more onto that as well.
I was going to say, I can think of a whole bunch more complex models to add, but I like the modular approach as well. I think that's most people, I know Pharaoh or Blakely, we did the stuff with neighbors where we put a rig control system on top of the model, and yes, we had time step issues and everything else, but that's the way to go. So anyway, I by the way, I see that Raju Gandakoti is on the line, and I haven't I don't know if he's talked to you, Roman, or not, but Raju has got a lot of modeling experience, and I've tapped him and told him that, hey, contribute some of the open source stuff. We had a talk. So Raju, are you there? Can you hear us?
It looks like he had to hop off. His he sent in the chat that he had another meeting that he had to jump on.
Okay.
Hey, Roman, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So looking longer term, who do you envisage in terms of companies, etc., supplying models into here? Because I wonder if people who have models that they offer as a commercial service to their clients, I would wonder if they would end up contributing to this because of their own differentiation, etc., etc.
So I don't really expect significant contribution from those companies that make money off their models. However, they may have, let's say, an older model that's sitting on that collecting dust on a shelf that they may want to contribute. So for example, let's say Josh Wilson over at Scientific contributed back his PhD codes. Like, he's not contributing back what he's currently doing, but he has his own PhD codes. So for a lot of these, it'll be academia contributing, and then maybe hopefully one or two companies maybe may step up and do that as well. Because I know like Exxon, for example, has contributed to one of their models.
Yep. And I'm going to add something too. We've approached a number of people. I even approached Schlumberger has probably hundreds of man years in their iDrill model, and they're probably never going to contribute iDrill, but they are very interested in comparing iDrill results to open source results. And what does that do? It strengthens both. It makes them they will never share with their customers their internal code, which always means you don't have a way of verifying it the way you would like. And on the other hand, if it's verified against an open source code and that open source code is available for inspection, you go, okay. So I think that you'll find, like Roman said, they may not contribute directly, but they will contribute in terms of making a robust system. And we've had more acceptance than you might think. I know Eric, as you said, Eric is absolutely against open source, and I'm absolutely for it. I think we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, hey, that's a very interesting positioning, Paul, of people with their systems. And I know iDrill, I was involved way back in the beginning when they spent $6 million in Beijing to launch the thing, and it's an incredible model. But that's an interesting perspective of them running it against the open source to show people what it does. The other guy who I find extremely interesting is Stefan Menand. And man, have you had conversations with him?
Yes.
No, absolutely.
Yep.
He's probably a bit more open, isn't he?
Oh, no,
he's a very academic guy.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. So on the contributing backside, I know he's up against all the industrial usual and his bosses, but he is part of both a consortium and part of all these discussions.
Okay. What is this consortium you started in 2024? I haven't seen that before.
Okay. So I guess it's the competitor to Rapid. So it's the same thing as Rapid at UT, but this is mine at A&M.
And it's better.
So you're competing with your old boss.
Exactly.
Holy mackerel. Watch out, he's a Dutchman. You got to be real careful.
Oh, I know. It's a very dangerous game I'm playing.
So is yours cheaper?
I think we're on price parity.
Yeah, it's hey John, it's not the cost, it's the value, right?
It's the value. Yeah.
I do want to say one thing, John DeWart, on your comment as well about these guys being able to compare their codes. The other thing is, you look at ANSYS, look at CFD codes as well, and Final Element. They write a white paper manual that explains the equations used in infinite detail. That's not the value. Is the code itself is not the value. It's being able to use it to solve a problem with it and going forward. So I think a lot of companies are going to find out over time their code is not all that unique. You got to solve the same math problem, and the right thing to do is to make sure it's validated and verified. So anyway,
So surely,
just
Paul, you really want to verify against measured data rather than against another model, right?
Yes.
So it would be good if somebody would start donating data in here with descriptions of exactly what was in the hole.
Yeah. Good news is I know Utah Forge data is all open, and I know that I had worked on it, and I know Greg Payette is working on getting Exxon to release a significant chunk of data that included downhole measurements as well as surface. So
yeah.
Okay, good.
I think Robert has a question.
Yeah, Roman, really interesting stuff. I've got 2 or 3 questions. I'll just throw them all at you at once. Maybe you can answer them just quickly. The first thing is about interoperability, like you mentioned earlier. Are you asking for standardization terms of the parameters and things like that? That'd be one. Secondly, I'm wondering about what you think about the relevance to wellbore positioning. And thirdly, if you see that, would you be interested in maybe presenting this to the wellbore positioning technical section?
Great questions. So on the first one, so for interoperability, that is always a big question. So right now, we're part of the work my students are doing is brainstorming how to incorporate a model, whether it's just a simple API call where it's just like add bit model with, let's say, these hooks or whatever into the standardized parameters, or is it a more complicated, here's where the bit code goes, these are the variables that are available, now you figure it out yourself. So we're somewhere between those two, but that is a really big challenge. Like the ideal would be like a MATLAB Simulink type model where you just drag in a drill string and a bit, draw 2 lines between them, and you're done. I don't think we'll ever be there, but there will be some way to incorporate them directly. How pretty is it? That's, again, something I'm working toward. On wellbore positioning, well paths and understanding of well paths is critical for a lot of these models, and that's interaction between the drill string and the borehole. So I can definitely see a connection with the wellbore positioning. And yes, happy to do a presentation on this for that.
Good. Okay. Well, let me get back with you on that one. Our next meeting is going to be in Anchorage at the end of September, our next general meeting, but maybe we can bring it up to the board before that. If you're in Anchorage 25th September and willing to present, or have somebody else willing to present on that would be excellent. It'd be worth putting a proposal in. Yeah, I think part of the implementation of the API, obviously they've easy to do mapping and stuff like that if you have to, but basically having some sort of definition of some of the transfer protocols that we've been implementing elsewhere would be good.
Yes.
Any connection with the OSDU at all in terms of the data sets and stuff like that? Or would that help maybe with some of the standardization of the naming?
That would definitely help with the standardization. Haven't had extensive contact with them yet, so that's a good point for me to take back and initiate more of that.
Cool. Okay. So have a think about the presentation bit, and let's be in touch. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks.
On Robert, you touched on it with OSDU. On similar, I think DWIS is working on the bits and pieces through Eric Kayer, on particularly on the conversion unit conversions. We have taken OSDC and enhanced it considerably. and that will all be fed back into the OSDC system.
Yep. No, that's a very good point.
And the other thing that you're working on, John, I know we talked a little bit about the standard definitions of components, like, say, what do you need to know about a stabilizer? And if you take those things that you're defining right now for DWIS, basically it says, hey, this is the same thing I need for a transient dynamics model as well. So.
Yep. Yeah, and so that all that will be is open as well. It can move across from DWIS. It's just the contextual data tables and catalog, really.
Yep.
And Fred, you have a question?
As your guys are working on interoperability, any of the work that's been done by the semantics team within DWIS, if they're running into problems, their feedback would be exceptionally valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thanks.
Well, I had a question, I guess, before we move on as well, and it may be for another time. I think the interaction with any model within the rig system has always been a struggle, especially taking a really robust model and having it be functional and valuable in real time. And I don't think anybody has perfected that yet today. So I guess, does your group have any focus on that component on it? I know when we were talking about PyDrill, you said that there was like immediate surface interaction with auto drillers and SoftTorque, ZTorque. So I guess just my question, and maybe this is like a bigger discussion for the future, is how does that look like today, and what are we doing to?
Yes.
Or are you partnering with anybody to think about what that looks like too?
A couple years ago, I was partnering with Precision Drilling to try and get this to work on Novos. We were running into real-time concurrency issues at that time with Novos, so I haven't tried it since. I just circled back on that. My goal for all these models is to have them to run real-time or faster than real-time. And for the estimation, you can either run Monte Carlo, so you just have several running all at once, or you can use an observer-based design where you have effectively like a little mini controller updating certain parameters. So we have successfully done this on certain parameters for simple models, but that's something I'm definitely thinking about is, can real-time data be fed in? Is it fast enough? And then how do we update the model in real time to make it useful? And what I really want to do over the next couple of years is, if one of the drilling contractors can join my consortium, hint, hint, is implemented on their system itself. So whether or not it's Novus or whatever automation system is running in the background. So that's my goal. That's where I want to be.
Great. I will plant appropriate seeds with the right people and neighbors and try to get you in contact with them as well. That would be really fun. Okay. Awesome. Does anyone else have any more OSDC questions? Awesome. All right, Matt, I'll hand it over to you to talk a little bit more about DWIS.
All right. Obviously, there's far too many words on that screen for you to read. That's intended to kind of be the advertisement for DWIS that goes along with this presentation. So let's jump to the next slide and talk about what it is that we're trying to do, right? So this is DWIS is all around an open source interoperable interface between the advisory systems and automation controls, starting with the drilling rig for safely delivering a well through operations with reduced human input. Right, and what we're trying to do is, of course, enable all of the different stakeholders at the well site to improve the well delivery in terms of their functions and the value that they provide, right? So that's kind of the overarching goal. Next slide. So here's really what we're trying to do, right? Obviously, industry use of this interface is job one. We have a whole bunch of technical papers and code, which is found in the details section of this presentation. This presentation is kind of divided up into the two parts, right? One is the big picture front end, and then the second is the detailed, what we're working on now end. And to support that interface, We want to build the language and the ecosystem and, basically the supporting, sustaining organization to keep it alive and feed it over time. We've published some papers on how to share value, right? So there's a commercial side of this as well. And if we're going to make this stick, we really need some sort of an industry standard. So we took the question mark off of this. It will start with an API recommended practice at some point. When we think that we're at the appropriate stage to start that work, we will. Obviously, that's quite an endeavor in and of itself. Next slide. So what we're working on today, right, really is step one is getting everything launched. So we've been building different tools. The way we've done this is by using different work streams. We have a board that is kind of guiding the direction of this work. And then, we've been building all of the different tools, practices, processes for the different systems, commercial systems that are out there, and doing demonstrations to show the progress that we're making. And then the future steps is really around, showing how the wealth life cycle economics are impacted by these, right? I mean, obviously the value isn't, on one single well and one single application of the advisory system, right? It's going to be something that aggregates and accumulates over time. So, we have to make the case that the juice is worth the squeeze, right? That the break even for these is within a finite period of time, and how the benefits flow to the operator, service providers, and contractor. Next one. So here's what we're working on today, right? We're busy progressing that minimum viable product. We're working on an implementation roadmap that basically describes the environment that we are working toward. The way we do that, we have work stream groups that do the technical work, and then we have the advisory board that's really working on the roadmap and how to bring it all together and orchestrate it. Quite a few challenges out there. Probably first and foremost is that we have a bunch of volunteers working, and there's so many different commercial systems involved. So we have to figure out how to make the benefits very, very obvious and address any of the concerns of the folks who will be using these systems. Very much an iterative path, right? Making it, figuring out what the next step is each step of the way. Our plan right now is continue these demonstrations that we've done and grow our industry engagements to get the word out, right? So it's really about showing the maturity of the technical work that's been done and explaining to the technical people how these systems work and demonstrating the benefits. And then in the engagement piece really is primarily around the operator. If you look at the work that the DWIS organization has done, it's very ably and well supported by the service providers and drilling contractors. Really the piece that's missing right now is operator involvement. And we're busy scratching our heads trying to figure out how to get the attention of the operators that are ultimately going to be the ones who decide whether or not to invest in these systems. So that's the current one. There's another couple of slides that go with this that talk specifically about the technical work, but I think that's kind of beyond the scope of this meeting. So if you want the whole presentation, feel free to reach out to Blakely. Feel free to reach out to me. So I see John had his hand up first.
Yeah, so something crosses my mind and I'm wondering if the timing is correct for it or to consider it in the life cycle of this program. And that is to hold an industry workshop. With the roadmap, we did our work with 50 people virtually broken up into subgroups. And then we organized a workshop two days, if I remember correctly. We got 90 people there, so it was a good turnout. We used IADC to organize it because Lisa and her team are way quicker. No offense, it's a different style, but they're way quicker than SPE. They organized it. They did all the advertising, all the financing, all the stuff for registration. I did the planning and the facilitation of that workshop, and we had multiple breakout groups that were pre-planned with the people running the subgroups and the whole program. And I think it was really good. It got visually out there what we were doing because we shared it in presentations, and then it had people giving us input in a managed manner. And I'm just wondering if it's time for you guys to do that and somehow steer the operators to want to come to it because they have a part to play in it.
So there's a very complicated answer to that. So the consortium that we did following the drilling conference was a step in that direction, right? Where we see the operators participating is in the DigiWells effort that is kind of going on behind DWIS. So you have very active participation there by about a half dozen operators. But for some reason that doesn't transfer or translate into DWIS activity, right? So I think you're right that industry engagement eventually will come into either a workshop or a forum of some sort. The question is more about who to approach and how to get them involved in the development work that we're doing now.
Yeah, so DigiWells is Norse, right? Primarily.
Yes, that's the source of its funding.
And it's their show and tell every year or every half year on what they're doing to the Norwegian community and operators and contractors, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I just wondered if I mean, SPE or IADC, and IADC is just faster in their cycle. If they organized your workshop, you really can, I think you can attract way more people than doing it under DWIS. What is DWIS? Who is DWIS? Yes, it's part of DSATS. Yes, it's part of SPE. But when you get the organization itself going out, advertising, saying we're running it, we're behind it, I think it can help attract people. Now, how you get operators to come to an IADC meeting, that's another angle to address.
Yes, we are actively having that conversation. We will do another industry event around the drilling conference in February. Right, so we're building that direction, and we're plugged into both IADC and SPE, right? So I think
yes,
we'll continue to drive.
So there's an interesting thing that I learned back in 2013 is because the drilling conference is sanctioned by the boards of SPE and IADC. If you hang your hat underneath that umbrella, you can use either or both organizations to organize your event. So, yeah,
we're way ahead of you.
Good. Keep marching.
I had
Paul, looks like you're next up.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say I had one comment. You're talking about getting operators involved, and I think, quite honestly, the industry is a bit ahead of operators in terms of this standardization. But the value that I am sure that you show is, I observed if you have multiple multiple rigs, multiple instances with the same control system, you learn way faster, way faster. We had, in early stage automation, we had several cases where we had just one rig with its operating system like Novos or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with Novos. It's just that we only had one. Well, if you only have one, you don't have anybody to share your data with. On the other hand, if your interface is up here at a higher level, which is what you're doing with DWIS, then all of your automated rigs, you can share kind of best practices and learning. So I think that's the sales point to be made to operators. I don't think they realize it yet, quite honestly, most of them. But
yeah, and if you look at the demos we're doing, right, it started with Novos. HMH will be the next one. There's a live demo on an actual rig coming up early 2026. That's the direction that we're going, right? I mean, the point of each of these demos is to develop the bridge. And then, once the demo's over, the bridge is the property of whose ever system it is. So, I think, we're getting in that direction. I think the resistance for operators really comes around. I mean, these things are very detailed in terms of the processes that we're trying to control. And I don't know that there's that many people focused on drilling mechanics and the degree of detail that these systems are actually seeking to do. So, I mean, it may be the commercial applications by the service providers that actually drive this. And, the bridge to the automated control system is really the enabler. So, I'm hoping that you're right, that, we're out in front, and really once these things are ready, the value becomes more obvious once the bridges are built.
Yep.
Time will tell.
Yep. Well, I think just like your phone, you pick up your phone and it works, and there's a whole bunch of magic that happens in the background. And I think that's where operators are they're going to look and say, that's what I want to happen. I just want it to work, and won't get into the details. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. What would you say if Apple called you and invited you to attend a meeting where they were developing an app, right? You probably would say, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, you go. Exactly.
Give it to me when it's ready.
Yep.
All right, Calvin.
I'll buy yours or somebody else's, depending on which one I like better.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, if your point about DigiWell, there's 5 operators in it. We're on the outskirts of that. But if you want some support on maybe having more dialogue with them, I'll be in Norway for quite a bit of time the rest of the year. And of course, I talk to Eric fairly regularly. So I agree with you. I like the DigiWells thing. I think it's the most, it's called Drilling Op Plan, right? And they've got these different initiatives. So maybe there's something there that I can help you with if you got some ideas. Happy to help.
Yeah, well, at the consortium, it was really the leadership of the DigiWells in terms of the operators that were, that showed up, the Aker BPs and Equinors and, all of that crowd, Petrobras. So, they are involved. I think they're just involved in a different wing of this work than what is taking place in SPE.
But were you suggesting a bridge, or maybe I misunderstood? Why did you bring it up?
I would love to establish a bridge, right? Because to me, that accelerates the expansion of standardization, as well as it would be a much better platform to do an API RP.
Okay.
Likely. You're on mute.
Forgive my ignorance here. I apologize. Mute button gets me every time. I took my hand down, but did not unmute myself, halfway there. So the handshake is all parameters. Is that correct? Like the DWIS kind of umbrella is essentially exchanging parameters to deliver to the control system. Is that correct?
It goes a little bit beyond that, right? Because you're also looking at once you've established what things you have to communicate, really what you're trying to do then is call the shots in terms of how those systems do a connection or, break gel or, so it's more than just the parameters.
Okay. I guess that was my question more so, or I guess the leading part of that is, like sending parameters is easy. Establishing like procedures, especially over different control systems, I think will be much more difficult just because of the way everyone is set up a little bit differently, right? So it's like if you are an Exxon and you want to use this umbrella, but you have 4 different control systems, but you have one standard procedure. I guess I wonder how that looks.
It's even more than that, right? Because you're orchestrating all of these different advisory systems to execute the instruction that is the most important for that particular situation.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So there's
Like
a whole
hierarchy.
right. And the data exchange for the parameters is the foundation for that, right? But the orchestration and how these different advisory systems, how they're prioritized is really the key piece.
Mm.
Did I answer your question? I think not.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Like the orchestration and like who has kind of priority on sending parameters or information. Yes. But
Well,
No, no,
so it's
Go ahead,
exchange
John.
of parameters, yeah. So it's across an API, but the way the parameters are interpreted varies depending on the system. So we have a Novos interface, we have a deal interface, we have another interface, and so on. That's part of the problem, and it'd be nice to abstract those so you have a common API, and that's what we're getting towards. Yeah.
Yes, I guess, and that probably, John, is where I'm more towards kind of leaning, right? I feel like that having to build and maintain those interfaces would, I guess, just be a consistent challenge, right?
It's a nightmare. Just doing verification, for example, all the V&V stuff you have to do, it has to be repeated for each interface. And if, for example, just to use one, Novos makes a change, away we go, and do all that again.
Yeah,
it's a real nightmare.
Certify every single app. Yeah.
Yep. And so if we can abstract that out to a common API and then bury the differences on the receiving end, and then we're in a lot better state.
Yeah.
That's the overall goal.
I think also commercially though, it's adding cost without value.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we are all seeing that people are struggling for, why do I have to pay for this bit? And it's because this bit is completely custom at the moment. That's why. Right?
Yeah, it's definitely not scalable when you get there. So the one comment I had, by the way, is that each bridge provider, if you like, keeps it to themselves, whether Norse developed it or not, except for the between bridge. That's open. So the demo, was it 2 demos ago or 1 demo ago? No, 2 demos ago. They had the demo with Secal, Baker, the Petrobras was in there, by the way, providing a link from Brazil with an application. All that bridge is open, to all DWIS members. So it is quite significant, that one, we believe anyway, because it was a very low level bridge, so it can be built upon. And so with Petrobras and in there, you can see that one operator at least is providing some advisory application.
I have some comments, but probably best left to the DWIS committee meetings.
Yeah.
We're straying into that territory now. Yeah. We're getting there.
John.
You're up, John.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting discussion, and it's very it's working with the complicated industry, right? The whole well construction industry, and it's working with an extremely complicated setup because all these systems are different, and even the same system on different rigs is different. I mean, there's so much variability going around. I think the conversation is fantastic, and a lot of you guys really understand it and talk the details. I just wonder if it's time for the dummies guide to a DWIS or dummies guide to drilling systems automation interoperability, or even drilling systems interoperability, because it's data flow, etc. If it's time to put that together and publish it, so senior managers and C-suite guys can actually read and understand it and say, holy mackerel, this is important to us and there is real value in doing something with it. They'll never understand the conversation you just had, and I don't expect them to.
But it needs to be a conversation of value.
Yeah, correct. And I think of a dummies guide as just a way to think about doing it, such that it's written in a manner that C-suite people can read it and go, holy mackerel, this is important stuff. What are we doing about it?
So I don't think that's a dummies guide. I think that is a totally different document and a totally different conversation than the technical one, right? Because
right,
it's really a business value proposition, and that's something that's in our roadmap. And we agree that that's, talking with Sabode and some of the other influencers, Mike Garvin, that are out there, that's really the thing that they say is that, hey, you need to roll this up in a manner that we can make a business decision on it.
Don't you? I mean, if you look at it, Matt, remember that I went through and got just the papers on where people are working, and then went and asked people where you're working, and you look at it, it's all over the place. South America, Asia Pacific, a lot of work in Asia Pacific on automation. DSA, it's not just Norway, huh? It's not just Norway anymore.
Yeah.
The systems have definitely spread. And
that's probably the least active place we have, John.
Yeah.
Norway. If I'm honest, the activity is everywhere else. There's some stuff there, but it's not. It's no.
That's one of the things that we've come to realize, right? Is the ship has sailed.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't realized it yet, and because we have the DWIZ name and the word interoperability in there, I think that creates the perception that we're trying to do something different than what they've already embarked on. Right. So I mean, I think the next step for us really is, getting working with somebody to sit down and come up with
I've actually heard that very statement. Exactly that statement.
Yeah.
We're already
the
working on this.
interoperability is a barrier to understanding.
Well, Matt, what were you going to say though? Like finish what you were going to say, work with somebody to do what?
To finish off that C-suite value proposition. Right. Because I mean, what we have now, the presentation that I just gave you is our first attempt at it, making it more of an approachable conversation. But obviously it's still full
It's
of
still not, yeah.
Right. So, we need to get a couple more layers of the onion off. And I think the best way to do that is, go find one of the presidents or the CEOs or, the technology people and one of the contractors and, sit down with them and, have the conversation in their terms and then go back and rebuild our presentation.
At the risk of signing up for too much, can I join you on that? Like, that's what my weird skill is. Because I'm sitting here, like, I don't know what questions to ask and such. Because I'm one of the ones John's talking about that, like, I'm not following the conversation and I'm trying my best to take notes. But once I do understand something, I can explain it and break it down. I'm just not there yet of understanding it.
Yeah, that's precisely what we need to do, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I have written down your
And we
name.
need many whiteboards for this, I think.
Yeah, right. It gets, the more people you show it to, the better it gets, right?
Yeah, it's almost as simple as this box connects to this box and this is why and here's what it does. Anyway.
I think the reason we need this is because my experience has been that, and every time you bring somebody else in, you start all over again, and you have to go through that whole conversation from the beginning once more. We deployed automation on a rig. It took us 12 weeks to technically deploy it, stand it up, and have it operational. It took us 18 months to get approval to do it, though, right? Yeah. Because trying to get people to buy into the value of it, of what we were doing, was the biggest problem. Paul, sorry, just saw your hands up.
Yeah, no worries. What I was going to add, I'm going to volunteer a guy that I have no business of volunteering, and that is Jason Garr at ExxonMobil. Jason was the driving force for the automation systems. Basically, he was the driving force for everything, including the offshore stuff that he's no longer responsible for. But Neighbors and H&P are the two lead contractors in the U.S. for Exxon, and they have different systems. So there's an opportunity for somebody to recognize the value. And then Exxon has 6 rigs in Guyana that are all intended to be a different operating Sonovo system, and then there's one up in Eastern Canada again with another operating system. So you know what, that would be a really good thing to see if you get his, if you got a proposed outline of what you think the value is, getting his opinion on that and his perspective would be great. So
yeah,
I'd be glad to introduce him. I don't know, I can't speak for him what his timing is. I know with the acquisition of Pioneer that he was been a busy boy, but anyway, he'd be he is a believer, and he puts his money where his mouth is. So
I think he's I'm sorry, John. Sorry, you have your hand up.
I'm going to change the topic actually. So say what you got to say.
What I was going to say is like I think of Jason as a unicorn, in that he is in a decision-making position, but is also a believer and also understands it, which makes him a good starting point. But I think we need to even simplify. I hate using these words, but like John's saying, like kind of a dummies guy, like I'm good at dummies guides, to kind of make it even more reachable to a broader group. But I think he's a good starting point, good unicorn.
Yeah.
I think,
well, he's already a believer,
so
you're not selling it to him. That's that.
Yeah,
right.
Just to close it out, don't hang your hat on one unicorn though, because the value is very different depending on the market.
Correct. Yes, but good starting point. Yeah, sorry, John.
He can give you good constructive feedback though as well. And I think the selling point for him, again, it's moving away from just like trying to sell automation and trying to sell to the operator the value of having like a consistent for all of their different automation providers and systems.
Yeah.
So just I see we're up to the 10:30 almost. Just one thing, engagement. I think it's interesting to see who attends these meetings. And I think that Greg could give us a list of the attendees over the past few meetings. And then I think Cody can look and find out who's not showing up. And then I would say we want to get them to show up. But my little note here says, be nice.
Your name, just name me and shame me now, John. Get over it.
You can claim your own seat at the table, man. But, find out why. Ask them why they're not able to show up. Do they have an imposition that prevents them from doing the role? Do we need to find an alternate? Or do we just need to remind them that, hey, this is important. You should be there. We want you to participate. And I think starting out with a nice attitude to find what their issue is could help increase engagement and sort that out, particularly for these regional program guys, because they are important to the footprint of what we can do.
Yeah.
So don't have me do it. That's what you're saying, John.
No, exactly like your meeting yesterday. Yeah.
Like somebody nice. Yeah. Okay.
You were extremely nice.
So Greg does send the attendance sheet to me, and then I'm kind of continuing from what Sam had before of like the attendance of each of these. So I have what you're talking about already.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, you just need somebody to, and you can't load it all on Blakely, but somebody to take the initiative to politely ask them, why are they unable to attend, and then see what to do about it.
And it might work well if you identify, let's say there's 10 people you're trying to get a hold of. There may be somebody that has a really good working relationship with them already, and have volunteers say, hey, I'll call this guy or that gal or whoever it is. So
yeah.
The only other thing I would say is give them a graceful exit if that's what they want. Don't make it harsh. Give them a nice soft landing if it isn't off. And they're right. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
People have a life, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess Cody, Rhea, and I can probably take action on seeing, who's all invited versus who hasn't been able to attend, and then we'll kind of divide and conquer for who reaches out to who. And if we find somebody that we're like, I've never met this person, this will be no fun, I'll reach out to you guys and see if you guys can help support us.
I'm going to be blushing when we see these numbers. I know it. So I'll just I get my apologies in now.
I don't think we're gonna do like attendance grades for officers. That's just not fair.
Thank goodness. That's all I could say.
I get a tardy today. That's all I
would
know.
I would definitely be getting sent to the headmistress's office.
No.
For a good spanking, huh?
Yeah.
Calm down, John. Calm down. No, I think that's a great idea, keeping track of it. And yeah, what we do with it, that's a different topic, but let's just get the numbers and start keeping track of everything with participation.
For sure. Yeah, I'd presume for some of the regionals, it's like time is definitely going to be a big factor. So if there's a separate.
Well, I had some ideas in the regional stuff, like let's take it offline and discuss it. We can maybe bring that back to the larger group once we've got an idea.
That is our gap, though. That's a very obvious gap in these meetings. The program chairs.
Yeah.
Well, the program chairs are here. It's the regional ones that we don't have an engagement in, and I think that's been a historical thing as to how they've operated and why they were brought in. So
Seraphine is always
we need
here.
to fix the there's no mechanism for them is the point. Right? So
Yeah, and that I think we're saying the same thing. It's just different terminology. Like the role is like program chair - Middle East - Africa - Asia. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're at 10:33. I know a couple of us have 10:30s that we're already late to.
Okay.
So I think we have some good actions. I'll recap with Riam and we'll try to send out like key things that we'll be working through this month. Those that are on kind of the rebrand task force, if you haven't filled out that poll I sent out earlier this week or late last week, please let me know so we can set up that first meeting. But I appreciate everybody's time today and all the updates. Really enjoyed getting to see more about OSTC and DWIS, and I think we had some really great conversations there too. So
one last plug. I've picked up on a couple of things from the subcommittees. If there's anything you want to talk about on LinkedIn or anything like that, please ping me and then we'll work through that so we can get more things to post. Okay.
They're good.
Thank you. Thanks, Blakely.
Thank you, guys.
Be
Thank
safe,
you.
everybody.
Bye, guys.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.